Let's go, guys. You guys been having fun this weekend?
Yeah.
Word. All right. So this is advanced sorting board. Today we're gonna be talking mostly about board and how to use it as a tool, other than just to defend yourself from incoming attacks. We're gonna do some gear manipulation. Really fun stuff. There's gonna be some cross game stuff at the end if you guys are interested in that. But the main focus will be fighting at very close range, like board to board, and just using these tools to throw into your toolbox. I'm Sartorial. I've been a knight in Darkon since 2012, and I'm from around this area, so that's who I am.
I'm Sir Kai. I'm also from around this area. Been a knight in Darkon since about 2013.
So one of the first things we'll talk about though is boards and like pros and cons. All right. So strap shields. For this class, there's basically two kinds of shields. There's strap shield and punch shield. So what are some pros to a strap shield? Can anybody tell me some pros to strap shields?
More passive defense. More stable.
Solid or passive defense. Like, they're not gonna. It's much harder to bully you by manipulating the strap.
Yeah, those are all correct things.
They're easier to hold, so you can't really get a bigger surface area.
Who can tell me some disadvantages?
You have a hard time limiting the angles that your opponent can throw.
That can be true.
If you get moved in a position, it's harder to move back because you have to. It's a bit slower.
It's harder to throw. It's harder to throw shots on your own board side.
Definitely harder than a punch, yeah, for sure.
Movement's limited. You can only go as high as your shoulders can let you.
So seems like you guys know like pros and cons of straps. So what about punches? So what are some advantages of punch shields?
Weaker grip. So that you can get manipulated out.
Well, that's a disadvantage, but
Advantage.
yeah.
You can extend them out so that you're projecting your defense from.
Cutting off the angles, definitely.
A little quicker.
It is quicker. It is a little more versatile. You can kind of put it whatever you want it. What are some disadvantages? You have some disadvantages to punch shields.
Single fulcrum.
So we'll go into some of that stuff. So when I show some of these like techniques with I will say ahead of time with a punch, some of them are a lot harder to do, and to kind of help out with that. There's like a thing you can do to the punch. I learned it from some Ohio dudes out there, and they actually cut like a ramp that goes to their punch, so that when your punch is in your hand, I'll show you guys real quick. So if I were to put this punch in my hand, you see how my wrist is turned? Like that. So if I want to like push anyone or edge anyone, my wrist is turned while I'm doing that, right? Now if you cut that little ramp in there, it's something for your wrist to sit on, so now the board will sit flush with your arm. So then whenever you push or you plant anything, the board's like locked, because it's like your arm's inside of this like foam ramp that goes to your hand. So if this is something that like you guys really like to do and you want to like get into it more, that's like a thing that I would do to your gear to like help with that. Because I used a punch shield for like the first 3 years. I was like messing around with this stuff, and I jacked my wrist a few times. So just like a forewarning. Seems like you guys know a good bit about the pros and cons of both types of shields. So the second thing we're going to talk about is so rubbing is racing. Who's heard of rubbing is racing? All right. So rubbing is racing is an AMCARD term. So an AMCARD you can't bash people over, right? But rubbing is racing is we can be right here, and this is all good. This is all gravy, you know. So this is the area we're going to be in today. Is this area right here? Rubbing is racing. All right. So the first thing is, and you guys heard of like the can opener, like the shield scoop? All right. What do you guys mostly see when people talk about a shield scoop? Anybody want to come up and? So when you think of a shield scoop, like what do most people do? Right. Okay. So go ahead and turn this window. So you see how the way he pulls his shield out, how this is open, and he's like kind of like on the very tip of the board. Like he doesn't really have, like his shield isn't that deep into it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when this happens, if Kai really wanted to, he can just pull his board back. So that opening is only there for like a quick second, right? The way I'm going to show you guys, it's a little bit safer, and it's a lot stronger, and you can basically keep their board open for as long as you want, as long as you execute the move right. Guess I'll do it this way so that they can see my board. So a lot of these techniques are all based off of kind of one simple thing, and that's like tying up your opponent's weapon so they can't hit you while you're doing this stuff, right? So there's two things that you can do. All right, you can do something I call clogging the lane. All right. So clogging the lane would be anything where you throw your opener, and then you keep it there to make sure that like their sword's locked down. So if I'm touching him, right, and we're right here, I don't have to really pay attention to like what his sword's doing because I can feel what direction he wants to move, right? So if he tries to do a big wrap, you know, and to get away from my sword, I'm gonna feel it, and then you punish him for it, right? So this is here to keep you safe while you're trying to get this in. You know, if they do like a stupid, you know, they make a stupid mistake, capitalize on it, you know, but it's mostly there to kind of lock them down. Right? The second thing is you might not always be taller than the person you're fighting. You might be shorter. You might not be able to throw that first shot. So the second thing is I call it giving them the tasty bits. All right. So for instance, like shorter people, you know, if you know somebody really short is fighting Kai, they're going to have a bad time, right? Like you basically have to sprint at Kai while he throws blows down upon you, you know, and it sucks, right? So maybe like you might want to throw a bait, or you might want to do so there's a shoulder bait that I do where so in a like probably about, let's say about yellow range, so you know we can make contact with one another from this range. So what I'll do is I'll take a short step and pump my board to get them just to throw at it, right? And then when I go in, usually they'll bring their guard up. Now I'm clogging the lane once I get into range. Sorry if that looks sloppy, I can't really bend my leg. Does anybody have any questions about that? So really any opener you feel is like safe for you, that you're comfortable with, that you can just lock that down and, you know, keep your stick out there to make sure that it's just, you know, you're keeping their sword next to them and not like trying to move around rapidly.
Sort of like instead of bringing your hand back to guard after striking, you're bringing your body to your strike.
Does that make sense? Anybody got questions on that? All right, so this, let's get off that route. All right, so for the shield scoop, all right, we're going to start it off by clogging the lane, but instead of staying on center line, we're going to step a little bit off to his left foot, all right? So you can do this shield foot forward or sword foot forward. So the way I like to do it is I'll keep my left foot on the center line, and then as I clog the lane, I'm bringing this right foot to the outside of his left. You guys see that? All right. Now what this does is it's going to make them either turn a little bit, which is what you want, or they're just going to stand still. Okay. But if they do what they're supposed to do, they'll turn a little bit with you. So what you do from here is, whenever you push on someone, they automatically want to resist you. They want to push you away from them. Okay? We're going to use that to our advantage in this move. So for rounds, you're going to take probably like not like the middle part, but like a little bit of the lower middle here, and then I place it on the corner of their board or on the side of their board here, and then I basically walk into them. Because an amp guard, you can't bowl people over, right? If you try to do this, they just hit you, right? That's unsafe. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to bring this here, and then see how I'm stepping into him, and it's like pushing his board against him. Like my shield is still here, and if you're clogging the lane, if he tries to cross, you know, this is here. So you're protected in both your top quadrants. All right. When you do this move at speed, you're going to end up around here, and as you're pushing and they're pushing back on you, you're just going to, like Top Gun, you're going to hit the brakes and let them fly right by. You know what I'm saying? So now he's like there, and then I turn my hips and go right back to my static guard. Here. You normally want to make another 6-inch step, but I can't really, you do it on me so they can see that tiny step.
Push on the board, and then as I step in.
And like the way he has that, like I cannot bring my board back to my body. Like because I'm pushing against, it's just my arm against his hip and his shoulder. Like his whole body is locked into that. Like there's no way I'm gonna bring this back. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Where do you go from there?
You kill them.
Yeah,
but if you throw like over top, like you're...
so like I'm in this position here. So I have like, I have so many options that it's almost impossible for him to defend because from here I can strike here.
Okay.
Right. All I gotta do is move my shield an inch and then get between it, and he still can't hit me. If he does, if he keeps his sword high, like I can come in here, and you see how I keep his shield out?
Yeah, with
my hand.
So does all of it have to come between the boards?
Well, I like to, because I don't like to throw over top of my shield. This puts me off balance and it puts my arm at risk. I always try and move my shield so it's somewhat of a surprising shot because now where my shield was, now my sword's coming down. And then if he tries to go for outside shots, you can go here and still defend yourself. And notice, like, because I'm doing this, my sword is now guarding this quadrant, and my shield is guarding my top quadrant. And there's nothing over here I have to defend because his sword arm is over here, right? And then I can follow his sword around, right? You're in a position where you're able to use both your shield and sword now, and his shield is completely out of the picture.
But that hip turn is like kind of key because like that locks their board out, and it puts you like in the position you started fighting from in the first place. You know, so you do all those things, and it brings you right back to your guard, and then you're able to throw. That person doesn't have a board now, basically.
The things you don't want to throw are high risk shots in that situation, right? So if I'm in this position, right, high risk shots would be things that take my arm away from my like small center of mass right here. Things like this are not very good shots to throw because it puts my arm at risk, and his board's on that side. Again, like shots that come over and around my own shield are easily blocked by his hand, and he can return. So those are shots you don't want to do. Like you don't want to do like the low hip wrap in this position because his shield's on this side. You're giving him back the ability to use his shield. So a lot of short chops are really helpful, and then just moving your shield out of the way and letting your sword pass through.
I'll do it over the top stab sometimes.
Yeah, so that the stab is safe because my hand is still guarding that quadrant. Whereas something like this, my hand can't guard the quadrant any longer.
You guys have any questions on any of that? So we're gonna pair up, and we're gonna do this a few times. Then we'll come back to the next thing. All right. So this is a shot I use on occasion. So I call it the shield pop. You can do it as like an edge or a pin. It usually goes into a shoulder shot. You can incorporate blade beats with it, which is pretty neat. So basically a shield pop, it's not in super close range, like it's hard to do when you're right here, but it's something you can throw in because you should be training your opponent by clogging the lane, right? That's something they're going to expect a lot from you if you're doing these moves a lot. So, you know, after you've been doing these and you've been just like, you know, coming in on this dude, he's just going to be ready to kind of receive your aggression, right? So what you can do to kind of like play around with that is, you know, coming in like you're going to aggress. Some people like to just sit there. So when they do that, you just, you know, because they're like, if you see when I came in, he settles, and as soon as you see that settle, you just brush it out, boom, and then you're gonna, you know, step off. Because it is a really risky shot, you know. Like if I, you know, if he like figures out what I'm doing, like he could hit me in the shoulder. If he really wanted to, you know, he can come across, hit me in the arm. So it's a shot that you have to execute quickly, like crisply, and then get the hell out of dodge. You can also use it as a pin. So sometimes I'll come in and I'll clog the lane here, and then I'll hold this, and then come back. You want to do it again very quickly. You don't want to, you know, just hang it out there and throw it. I'm just kind of slowing it down so that you guys can see like what the idea is, how I do it. You can incorporate blade beats into it. So if you want to kind of disrupt them and give yourself a little more time, you can blade beat. You know, so you're like boom, boom, boom. Yeah, those are like some of the variants I throw. But the most important thing I feel is like really popping this section of the board right there. Right here won't do a whole lot. If anything, it just pushes his board into his body in his normal position, and I can't get that back. Whereas if I push it down and change that angle, you know, I can get to that shoulder. Has anybody got any questions on that?
I sort of saw like one of the videos that you did, and one of the things that I did was instead of like pushing my shield out, I just like angled it while I went in, and it was like a smaller movement, and it accomplished the same thing, but it was a closer shot. Instead of being like where you were, it was like right up close, and it was just like a little hip movement and then like a turn to a wrap. Is that like?
Yeah, I mean, like if you like, you can use the pin like a lot closer, you know. I just tend to use this a little farther away because people kind of expect of me that I'm gonna like come in like fight really close. So I just kind of use this to like keep people honest and like mix it up a little bit.
Okay.
Because you know, if you're clogging the lane every time and like keeping them like locked down, like that's something that like they're gonna notice. They're gonna be like, okay, this guy's like coming in, he's like locking my arm down, you know. So like they're gonna be more like patient to try and deal with you, you know. So when you come in, you know, like here, you know, just boom.
Where they expect you to clog the lane and they post for it?
Yeah, and they're like waiting. They're like, okay, he's gonna like do his thing, right? And then they're waiting to like counter me usually.
Sometimes they'll like bring their hand back because they don't want their sword to, they don't want your sword to touch theirs. So what they'll do is they'll bring their hand back here so you can't clog their sword out, so they can still throw shots around it. And that gives their shield more room to move.
Okay.
Plus, like if their sword's way back there, like it's harder for them to hit you.
Yeah.
They gotta bring it all the way up.
And then you have time to react with your shield, even if you pop it out.
Yep. And that's why I do it so quickly, and I do it like almost like it almost looks like kind of like I'm reaching for it, but it's just that I'm trying to punch it like at basically like the maximum distance that I can, like without being like super close to him. Because like especially Kai, like he's like an inch taller than me, so like he can wrap me pretty easily if I'm like this, you know. So that's why like I try to do, you know, like shit like that where it's like real fast. But yeah, the pin works really close. Like if we were like fighting here, you know, I'd be like that.
And you're still relatively safe.
I just don't typically like
He's already doing other stuff.
Yeah, like my brain like does other shit when I'm that close. So like.
So yes, it's viable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry if that was long-winded.
No. It was more explanation.
Yes. Any other questions about it? Cool.
What's the goal with the tap? Just to retard motion for them bringing it back up, or
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
bring
yeah,
it low?
like-
So it's the angle, right? So you notice a lot of people when they fight, they don't fight with their shield flat against their opponent because that's bad form, right? It gives their opponent easy angles to go around it. Most people fight with a decent angle to their shield. All you're doing is you're popping it into bad form, and then you're taking advantage of it.
Yeah, because like if his shield's in a regular place, like the shot hits like right here, right? But if I go there, like I can hit him.
So it doesn't even need to be that much. Just enough to move it.
No, I mean, plus the thing is if I keep it there for like a hair longer, like if he tries to pull the board up, it's slower. Like it's not that much slower, but it's slow enough for me to hit him with a 7-ounce stick, you know.
So the important thing is you want to get it on the bottom of the shield to get it to rotate.
Yeah, it's like board. It's like this area right here, not like up here. Like I don't know. It's really weird. It's not like the middle of the board.
Bottom
it's
left,
like the middle-ish.
bottom
Yeah,
left.
the
9 to
middle-ish and
7.
bottom left.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, like 7. Yeah.
Never make a
Yeah, it's just a pop down, you know. You guys pair up. I'll like come around. We'll like mess around with it.
Let's do different partners this time.
Yeah. All right. So this is more of a defensive thing. So I call this stuff in the hand, right? So say you're in a fight. You know, you try to execute your plan. You know, plan A didn't work. Plan B didn't work. Plan C is like fucking falling apart. You're like, shit, this sucks, right? You don't want to be here anymore. So, so usually when I get in these situations, so we're like fighting and stuff, and if I want to get out, even if we're like nose to nose here and their hand is out, I will bring my hand up and like hit their hand and leave, like get out. Alright. Okay. You can also do it as like a counter to like if they try to like wrap on you or something. Like so say he goes for like a low wrap. You know, I'm gonna go here and then like and you know and throw a shot to make sure that he's not coming behind my push. And just like clearing completely out of the fight and restarting it. You know, starting from step 1. Okay. Yeah,
It's a retreat maneuver. It sounds like real simple. Hey, just hit their hand with your shield.
it's hard.
But
It's a little
to
target.
execute, it takes some accuracy and timing, and those are the two big parts of it. A lot of the time when I'm doing it, I'm timing my shield with like one of their shots. So I'm real close in here, and maybe he throws like a wrap around. So I'm blocking and I'm following his shot back to punch it. Right? If he's just in guard and I try and hit his hand is moving around, right? And I can't like try and follow his hand around to try and hit it. And if I miss, I'm like, now I'm in a precarious situation. So try and when we're kind of doing the next drill, look for timing and kind of following their attacks back.
And it can disrupt them too. Like, you know, if they throw a shot and they're throwing and coming back to guard, you know, if they throw and then you like knock their hand away from their body as they're trying to pull it back, you know, you can make room for a slot when you get out. You know, you can throw a fadeaway wrap. Fadeaway shield wrap is like cool to do sometimes. So like, I'll come in here, you know, and punch this out, and then as I back up, I'm like stepping away from their sword and throwing underneath. And even if it misses, as long as they stop and they don't pursue you anymore, that's a win. You're now out of the fight. You can rethink, you know, replan, and you know, get back in it. You can only win if you're not dead. So stay alive.
So you guys get the tools to get in. Now you learn the tools to get out.
You guys got any more questions? Cool. Let's play around with that for like, what's it?
for I said to wait for them to throw a shot. If they're not like if they're just sitting in guard, what do you?
If they're sitting in guard, like so, I feel like when I'm nose to nose with people, like if we're just like kind of standing here, like not doing much shit, like if I'm gonna step away from you, like I'm gonna do something to make sure that you can't swing at me as I leave. You know what I mean? I kind of think of it like in D&D how you have attack of opportunity.
Yeah.
Like if you leave the square, like motherfuckers get free swings on you. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I mean, if they're just sitting in the guard, like take advantage of that instead. Like you might not feel under pressure, and you might not feel like you need to leave. You might be able to apply more pressure instead.
Yeah. Like Brett, like if I'm fighting Brett and I'm like real close to him, like if I just step away from him, he's probably gonna be like, and fucking dark side. So I'm not trying to mess with that. You know what I mean? So I don't want him to do that. So I'm gonna do something to where it's gonna like make him stop or think about what he's doing. It'd be real dope if I could just and this would go back on my head. But yeah, that's like at least my thought process like behind this whole like stuff in the hand thing is that you've been clogging the lane. You know, you're getting to that red zone where you're like board to board. But your plan's not working, like, that stuff gets hairy, you know what I mean? Especially when people, in Daggins, some people are pushing on each other and they're like, ugh, it's nuts, So, like, it's a way to kind of, like, control the chaos a little bit. Cool. All right, let's pair up and do this a little bit, and then we'll go to the next thing. The next couple things are cross-game stuff, so if some of you guys aren't cool with that, I don't know, you don't have to drill it, but it is cool stuff to know. Alright, so this is like my favorite part of the class. I'm going to be honest with you guys.
Well,
We can get to a point.
we're getting so much trouble.
We can get up to the straddle and then not the follow through.
So this is the shield edge, okay? So like, a lot of people think, well, you're just punching motherfuckers. Well, yeah, but there's some nuances, alright? There's some nuances, okay?
Punching motherfuckers with style.
Yeah. You gotta fucking,
Like, can I see
You
your
want to look good for the camera.
yeah, you gotta make it nice. Alright, so, shield edge can do a lot of things, right? So it can disrupt people, it can demoralize people. People, you put somebody on their ass, they don't really want to like mess with you anymore. The third thing is you use it to move people. Like if there is somebody fighting Kai over here, and or somebody with Kai, fighting with him, and this, they're fighting my dude that's here. If I, manage to get to a point where I can edge him into his buddy and disrupt his friend, so my other friend can, take shots at them, like that's a win for me, right? I got to punch a guy, and then my buddy got to kill him. So some shots that I use the edge with as a follow-up. A lot of people like to throw that real high cross, right? So, if I'm in my static guard, and I catch this is just a 6-inch step, and I'm looking at his armpit, and then I'm taking like another small step and changing my hips. Boom.
They won't thank you for it, but damn.
Right? Huh? Yeah, I got a low strap.
You can do it with a punch.
Yeah. You can edge people to disrupt a wrap. So sometimes you'll see people who they have like the wind up, or they do some stuff like this and then throw that wrap. So as soon as you see that arm come up, when it's at the apex, you're just gonna punch him in the bicep. Because I mean, if I interrupt it,
No quarter.
like and my sword's here, he doesn't have any power to hit me. Like his arm's not long enough.
I got little like monkey arms too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Kai can't wrap you, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And I just place it right there. Like you can't do anything. You can use it on legged people. I try not to blow up legged people, but there is some stuff that you can do. Like you can step in, do a shield pop here. There's a lot of different things you can do with an edge. So do you guys want to play around with some stuff, do it slow. Let's not blow up our training partners. We're all friends here, I think. So yeah, just you know, do like some half speed, like, you know, have some people do some high crosses and practice that block to the step and the hip turn. Just kind of you know, you just, you know, give them a little bump. Don't you know, knock them over or anything like that. Just feel it out. All right. So who hates fighting leg dudes?
Well, now because
I like fighting wild legs.
Huh?
I liked fighting wild legs
we
until I
hate
came
you.
here and Bella Dad guys were standing over top of me. And I'm like, oh, okay, hi.
So this is how people in Dagon Bell deal with leg people. All right. So this is
disrespectful.
Has anybody ever heard of the duck walk? Yeah. All right. So you come in, you like motherfuckers, something like that, right? So there's a theme with today's class, okay, where all the skills tend to build off of one another. All right. So we're gonna use stuff clogging the lane. We're gonna use a little bit of stuff in the hand, and then we're gonna embarrass someone. All right. So. Leg people suck to fight, in my opinion, especially in amp guard and tag, because it's like they're guarded so much more. You know, they have an invulnerable leg. You know, it sucks. All right. So the way that I deal with this is I get about where like I can like touch them, they can swing back at me, and then I take a little 6-inch step off of their center. This is very similar to the shield scoop, where you're gonna apply some pressure on them. All right. So you're gonna step over here. You're gonna clog that lane, right? Make sure that sword is staying there, and then you're gonna trade off. So you're gonna apply this pressure, and then get your board on that hand. So now if he tries to, my shoulder's a little open, but I know that. So if he tries to come up, and that just makes it a lot easier for me to lock that down, right? So now as soon as I got that arm pinned, I'm gonna step up to him, stand tall.
How's that fight?
You go down, and you get them legs.
Unless they fall back themselves.
Now when you do that at speed,
We can't
it's
push
basically like you're just like thrusting in their face. but really it's not. It really hits them like in the chest more.
Does it really matter where it hits?
Huh?
Does it really matter where it
I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect everybody. I do like
Some people you just like tiptoe into.
You
though.
literally teabag someone, like, what?
I didn't touch your face.
You didn't engage the knees, but
That's why his pouch is there.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get the no quarter pouch slapping you gently in the face.
So, but the important part of this though is really, if you try to do this like on center, they're just gonna like try to hip scoop you or fucking wrap you. Like, you know, if you make this step over here, like they're on their knees, they can't turn that quickly. You know what I mean? If you got like a really spry guy who's like 16 and his knees ain't messed up yet and he's like doing some craziness, just keep walking around until he gets tired. Like, you can't do it forever.
play vulture.
Yeah, I mean, you know, play smart. You know?
Take note of like where their knees are or how they're sitting. Like, you know, you have the dag bell, they'll sit like this, right?
You're gonna like this next piece though, hold on.
Okay. The dag bell people sit here because they have to keep their live leg up. So when he comes in and he's gonna push me over, he's not gonna push me over towards my leg. He's gonna push me over towards the center of my butt, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna push him on his weak side.
Because how am I supposed to deal with that if I don't have a leg behind me to keep me up?
So this is kind of dirty, but it's real funny.
But it's real fun.
All right. So this is what I call it the question. All right. So what you do is you go up and you go, which one's your dead leg?
It
works.
I got stuff in my hand. I ain't gonna point at it, right? Oh, it's the.
Yeah, just don't do that in the tournament. You might have fist fights. But it's real funny in the ditch and stuff. Like,
My experience, people look pretty much like they take it in a tournament too. Yeah, they do this, just like this.
you're just like,
Look.
yeah. so that's a duck walk. If you guys want to practice this, like that's cool. If you don't, I understand. You're like,
I'm
on
gonna
money
show
ass
you. I'm
ground.
gonna show you guys the amp guard.
Oh
version.
yeah.
So we have an amp guard. version.
I forgot. I suck at it, so I don't do it that often.
It looked really good all the way up until you just went, whoa!
Yeah. So actually, let me get
Argon, you mind if
Argon.
I can't get on my knees.
So the idea of the amp guard version is you can't give him a sword. You can't push them over, right? I can't edge him in the shoulder. I can't push him over with my crotch, right? But what I can do is I can make him very uncomfortable. And the more uncomfortable that you make them, the more space you can encroach on, right? So when people get close, what do they tend to do? They tend to lean back, right? The more they lean back, the more I'm not touching them.
I remember this game. I played this when I was like 5 with my brother.
Have you seen The Matrix?
Right? So you're pretty much going to do the same thing. Is you're going to come in, you take that step across, clog the lane, stuff, and what you do is you just kind of like take your foot and kind of keep putting it past their body a little bit.
Until they fall over.
The rule is like once they fall over, are the legs live again?
As soon as the knees off the ground.
Once
the knee's off the ground, you die.
It's like,
I've been
like
trying
people.
to think about
Yeah.
like why this works.
Because as soon as if people are legs,
You don't even have to
trying
hit them
walk,
once
you
they've
have to
fallen
like
over.
that.
They're dead.
I just didn't understand the dead leg system.
If they don't lean back, and you know they're cool with fighting right there, right? So come here, and yeah, I kind of push him forward. He's like, okay, I'm gonna pressure with you. I'm gonna like swing at you a little bit, right? Just hit him in the back, or like hit him in the back, or if he like puts his shield like way over top, like
Shield hat?
yeah,
Shield on your face.
like here you go. Remember they can't hit you with their gear either,
Yeah.
right?
I'm really bad at this because I have a hard time
Slowing
not
down.
just like
slowing down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I practiced it a little bit.
I mean, you do the duck walk enough times, like you just get so comfortable with just fucking dirt people.
I think that's the end of the class there, Terrio.
Yeah, that's the end of the class.
If you guys want to harden up and practice that, you're more than welcome. But that's pretty much the end of the class.
I know how this works.
Yeah, thanks for coming to my class, guys. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Hell yeah. You guys have any questions or anything? Feel free to hit me up.